Named Beatrice Kimpa Vita, she was born in 1684 in the Kingdom of Kongo, which is today the country of Angola. She preached receiving a revelation from God that Jesus was a black from the Kingdom of Kongo. And at that time, the Portuguese were having relationship with the Kingdom of Kongo. And according to her revelation, she saw that the Portuguese were later going to take the people from the Kingdom of Kongo into slavery, which exactly happened. And also because there was war which was going on in the Kingdom of Kongo at that time, she was asking people to get united and have one king in order to have peace. She was first rejected by two kings who she went to meet and asked them to listen to her message. And after, she got many other followers from the population who could listen to the things which she started explaining. And because of her, the influence of Jesus being a black person grew so much in Central Africa that in most of the parts during that time they used to represent Jesus as a black person. But her teachings or her preachings were against the Catholic Church doctrines, which made that she was hated by the Portuguese and the Catholic followers, and she was burnt, killed at the age of 22 by Catholic followers. Kimpa Vita made a very strong movement which influenced even other religious people of that time. Even after her death, some people could continue to practice her religion, and until today, some people still view her as a prophet or as a goddess. And also, she influenced also another religion which is until today widely practiced, especially in my country, Congo, which is called Kongolese. And in that religion also, there is someone who is called Simon Kimbangu, who was also attributed himself the abilities which are somehow similar to the abilities of Jesus, yet they still use the Bible and so many other Christian practice. The moral which I get out of this story of Kimpa Vita is something which accidentally came to my mind after thinking from the first time when I learned about Kimpa Vita. She was presented to us in primary school at that time as a witch, practicing things which were not seen as good, which were destroying the population at those times. When I thought of so many other prophets who I could hear in other religions or in any religion it could be, they're just people who preach to have a revelation from God, and from that they can oppose the religious leaders who can be at their time to bring their own version of the truth which they preach, that they get it as a revelation from God. And that is exactly the same thing which Kimpa Vita had also. But just because the history was not on her side, she was portrayed to be as a witch and killed. And even today when they teach about her story in Congo, they teach her as a witch instead of teaching her as a prophet or as a religious leader. And this explains how Africa have a lot of amazing things which just the history neglect, and especially women also have been influencing a lot in the African history. But just because of so many things which have been getting from outside of Africa, they suppress everything which is about Africa and make it look as if it didn't have a past. Everything about.
Alright, as promised, let's talk about Mama Mafuta. The actual influence behind 18-year-old Kimpa Vita's vision that God, Jesus, Mary, and all the saints in the Bible are black and Congolese. Let's get into it. When people back then thought of the spirit of Congo, they thought of 65-year-old Mama Mafuta, who was a community advisor, a spiritualist and a healer who believed that people needed to go back to their ancestral ways. This comes after the Portuguese, like I said in the previous video, were basically colonizing Congo, but they were capturing people so bad that they were starting to impose their religion on them, particularly Christianity and Catholicism. Kimpa Vita was at this time 17 years old, and she was one of the people who were attending Mama Mafuta's teachings and sermons up until she started having visions and spiritual possessions. But this one particular time, Kimpa Vita died, but the spiritual way. Her elders couldn't bury her because her father was not in town, and back then they needed to wait for the parents, especially the father, to be around in order for the child or the family member to be buried. Now, because Kimpa Vita's dad was away, they waited up to 3 days, and after 3 days they were like, you know what, let's bury her. Upon arriving at her burial site, Kimpa Vita woke up and said, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm not dead. And they were like, well, you have been dead for 3 days now, according to us. And she said, no. My spirit was in pain. And an ancestor came and he took me to the spiritual world and showed me how things actually are. And when I was there, I saw Jesus, Mary, God, and all the other saints in the Bible. But I also did notice one thing. They were Congolese and they were black, so they looked exactly just like us. And the elders and everybody who was there was like, whoa, Kimpa, what do you mean? Isn't Christianity a European thing? And she was like, no guys, like I said, an ancestor took me there. And the person who backed her up was none other than Queen Apolonia Mafuta, or Mama Mafuta. She backed Kimpa up so much that when Kimpa went on and started preaching, Mama Mafuta was right behind her saying, what she's saying is true. Not only did I train her, but she attended my sermons, and indeed, Kimpa is the real voice of God. So when Kimpa started preaching and telling people that no, God, Mary, Jesus, and all the saints are black, and let's not get baptized, and let's not do things according to the European methods of Christianism, it was very easy for people to believe her because, like I said, a very influential person was behind her, backing her up the entire time. So when Kimpa Vita left because the Portuguese Christians started to want to persecute her, the person who stayed behind with the teachings of now known as Antonianism was Mama Mafuta. But obviously, as we know it from the previous video, Kimpa was burnt alive. Not much is told about Mama Mafuta's death, but people believe that she just kind of died of old age if she was not persecuted. And we do also know that Kimpa's Christian movement was refounded by Simon Kimbangu.
Over 314 years ago, on the 2nd of July, 1706, Kimpa Vita was burned alive by the Catholic missionaries. Kimpa Vita was killed for preaching the return to roots, African Congo tradition, the return to Banza Congo land of her ancestors that was abandoned after the death of the sovereign Vita A. Nkanga in the famous Battle of Mbuila, which occurred in the year 1665. Kimpa Vita was killed because she advised the Congo's people to abandon foreign beliefs, Catholicism, and for conducting a spiritual struggle against the Portuguese. She was baptized with the name of Dona Beatrice when she was a child, but when she started her fight, she rejected the baptism name and adopted the name Kimpa Vita or Kimpa Kea Vita, which means new way to make war, a war that she considered spiritual. Kimpa Vita was burned alive with her son on her back by Catholic missionaries. Do you know about this history?
The 15th century was a time when the legacy of powerful African kingdoms were wickedly invaded by the West. The African people's rich and plentiful history was interrupted by slavery, genocide, and the deportation of Africans to new lands. The Great Kingdom of Kongo was no exception. A century later, in 1704, a fearless young woman decided to fight for her country, and while she tragically met her demise and was burned alive on the 2nd of July 1706, she will always be remembered throughout her kingdom as Kimpa Vita, the mother of the African Revolution.
Une jeune femme audacieuse, courageuse, qui s'est sacrifiée pour ses idées, pour son peuple, et qui était une espèce de porte-flambeau de la liberté des peuples africains.
Kimpa Vita, au départ, c'est un modèle. C'est un modèle de courage, c'est un modèle de détermination, et c'est aussi ce que j'appelle un modèle d'assomption de la liberté.
Personne frêle, mais très très intelligente, très forte de caractère, et je dirais qu'il y a cette grâce qui permet tout un chacun de se reconnaître dans cette personne.
Il y avait l'esclavage. Donc, il va vite atteindre. Il y avait vu le commerce d'esclaves. Dans ce petit temps, il a matin.
La résister et la poser des questions de conscience.
Amazing Black history that way more people should know about. Part 1. You may have heard of the Haitian Revolution or the Stono Rebellion that took place in South Carolina. But did you know that the two events are interconnected because of one of the most powerful Black women to ever exist, and she was only 22 years old? Prophetess Dona Beatrice Kimpa Vita was born in the Congo Empire in the late 1600s. She taught a message of peace and unity and urged the Congolese to end their civil wars. She also warned them to stay away from the Portuguese and not trust them because they would sell them all into slavery. She gained a massive following, and her calls for justice and unity endured. But she was burned at the stake for heresy, and just like she predicted, many Congolese were sold into slavery, including some of her own followers. And guess where they ended up? South Carolina, in modern-day United States of America, and Hispaniola, modern-day Haiti, and Dominican Republic. Her followers endured the transatlantic slave trade, and on Sunday, September the 9th, 1739, they took up arms in South Carolina, chanting Lukongo. Lukongo meant liberty, and it derived from the word Kanga, meaning salvation, directly from Kimpa Vita's prayer, the Salve Antoniana. But that still wasn't the end of her legacy or influence. In 1791, enslaved Africans took up arms in Haiti in what is now known as the Haitian Revolution. And on that island were Congolese Christians, the descendants of Kimpa Vita's followers. They unified, broke chains, and freed territories. And they were also on the front line of the Haitian Revolution. And like their cousins in South Carolina, they were heard chanting Kanga, Kanga, meaning salvation, from Kimpa Vita's prayer. This was an entire 85 years after her passing. Dona Beatrice Kimpa Vita is called by some the mother of the African Revolution and by others the unifying prophetess. Because of the ramifications of both the Stono Rebellion and the Haitian Revolution, some historians credit Dona Beatrice Kimpa Vita with the shaping of the modern-day United States of America. Dona Beatrice Kimpa Vita, a powerful African woman, a powerful Black woman that way more people should know about.
Hello guys, today I'm going to be talking about Congo, Haiti. Stay tuned.
Now, it should be noted that the Haitian revolutionaries sang in Kikongo. They used to sing Kangamundele, Kangandoki. Lock up these whites, lock up these witches. Kangamundele, Kangandoki, lock up these whites, lock up these witches. This chant and these lyrics are also found in the slave Antoniana, a tumwa, a prophetess, a warrior of Congo by the name of Yaya Vita Kimpa from Banza, Congo, used to also chant these exact same lyrics with her followers. Kangamundele, Kangandoki. Now, these Haitian revolutionaries had inflicted a fiery defeat on the Napoleonic army, the most powerful of the time. Now, during this revolutionary period in Haiti, there has been a lot of talk about a certain Makandala, a name transformed by the Europeans into Macdao. That's a disgrace, by the way. How are you gonna take a great name, Makandala, and turn it into Macdao? Disgrace. But let's continue. He was a great revolutionary of Congo origin who had executed a large number of French. This revolution gave birth to the first Black Republic in human history. It was the same Haitians who helped Simon Bolivar in his struggle against the Spanish. And it was from the port of Jacmel in Haiti that the troops of Simon Bolivar advanced in 1816 towards the victories and liberation of the Spanish colonial yoke of 5 Latin American countries. Now, Haitian voodoo, some say that it is the symbiosis of the traditional practice of Congo, Yoruba of Nigeria, and Fondu Dahomey of Benin in its folklore and practice. We often use Congo packets, tissue, talisman for protection against negative forces. We invoke the Bisimbi, Nsimbi, Bisimbi Biamaza, the spirit of waters, Bisimi Biantoto, the spirit of the ground, Bisimi Biatia, the spirit of fire. Simbi, the water spirit Kimpa Vita spoke about in her sermon in Banza, Congo. In the traditional Haitian music, there is also a rhythm called Yayati Congo and the drum Bonga of Congo Diantochila origin. Shout out to all my Haitian brothers and sisters, powerful people. Thank you.